Hi, I'm Danielle. I'm CEO and creative director of Octane Design Studios, and I welcome you to this episode where I'm going to be talking about all the things, my backstory, a little bit more about gamification, and even more information a while why gaming is so important.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today we've got a guest who is a true multi-talented force in the digital marketing realm. So I've been corrected. Now, Danielle, how are you doing today?
I'm well, thank you.
Fantastic. I'm still trying to learn the language, like I told you, but in this realm, I think you reign supreme. And for those that are meeting Danielle for the very first time, Danielle is a multi-business owner, published creative, certified prompt engineer, podcaster, strategist, wife, and a boy mama of three. She's a lover of Italian food, chai, cosplay. She's also into nerd law and retro gaming. Now, if you're not going to find anything that, connects you with Danielle there, wait until we get into her life story and everything else that comes along with it. So, Danielle, as you can notice, is a trailblazer that's representing the near 2% of Black women in the C-suite and 7% of women of color in the tech industry. Now, with such a heavy load on her shoulders, we are going to be going into her story, her strategies, and how she actually, makes others' lives, easier and also, livable in the way that she does her work. And also get ready to dive into her unique strategies and inspiring journey that I think promises to leave you motivated and ready to take on the world. Now, Danielle, this is your realm, and we're just characters in it. Tell us a bit about your journey and how you actually got started in this digital marketing realm.
Well, sure. I started out 14, 15 years ago from very humble beginnings as a single mom with a toddler, pregnant with baby on the way, in a 500 square foot, one bedroom apartment. That's how I started my journey with building the empire that we now know as Octane Design Studios. So, coming from such humble beginnings, I really had to find a place where, and I do mean a place mentally and physically, that I could evolve my game. And when I say that, I started out very humbly as a graphic designer, only focusing on logos with nonprofits, things along those lines. And as I grew my arsenal, my tool set, as I started to grow in other areas like web development, logo animation, more back end web development, things along those lines. Oh, and multimedia. Who doesn't need video? As I started to grow those type of crafts, I began to see there was more of a need for that representation for people of color, especially for women. And so that's kind of really where Octane began, making burrito bowls in in my kitchen while feeding my kids at the same time.
Fantastic. And I can so see, that picture of, a single mom just trying to make ends meet and things of that nature, right? So did you have any other jobs before you did this, full time as a graphic designer? What was life like before?
So life, like, well, I started my motherhood journey very young. So I was 21. So before then I was college. And I wanted to be, if you can imagine this, I wanted to be the next Black Katie Couric. Okay. So if you watch NBC News, you kind of know this legend of Katie Couric. I wanted to be her, except I wanted to produce more. And so I was already on a college track of being a double major in print journalism and technical theater. I wanted to design sets, I wanted to write, and that was kind of my plan. Well, life threw me a little bit of a wrench, and I had to kind of make diamonds out of the sand that I was in. And it was very interesting that I'm still capable of using a lot of the skill sets that I started out with, and how pivotal and transferable all of those skills became being a graphic designer. So a lot of the same graphic design programs that we started out with are the similar programs that our current journalism school was actually using. So it was very much of an easy pivot for me. Instead of writing things, I was now designing and laying out those pages.
Absolutely. And obviously with so much to look up to, like you say, the next Katie Karen, what was the inspiration about this character that really drew you in?
Really, it was telling stories. I really enjoyed this route of sharing someone's trials and tribulations, how they were able to overcome obstacles, and even so, even if they didn't overcome the obstacle, how were they able to survive in the end? So, really understanding the concept of the hero's journey, really understanding too the significance of seeing reflections of ourselves in stories through other people's voices really captivated me and really spearheaded my willness, if you will, my willingness to do it for other people through visual strategy.
Absolutely. And your past has a lot of gaming involved. How has that sort of translated into the work that you now do?
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned, I'm a boy mom, and we are the family that Fortnites. Okay, so we play tons of games. I love trivia games. I love more traditional role playing games. I love all the little pieces that make a board game work. And what I have invested into my children is the strategy of play. And I think it's really important that we use some level of strategy in a fun way so that we can retain and learn information faster or even better. I applied the same principle to the way that I have been able to grow my staff from 0 to 10, the way that we've been able to go from 0 to 6 figures in multiple different areas. So, the area of gamification, using strategy in a way to calculate possibilities, but also make it a bridge for people to get to know and trust one another.
Absolutely, I quite like that. But if you're coming from my world, I mean, the whole traditional business type stuff, there's no play when it comes to business. Everything is serious. But you've managed to build this, like you said, 14 years, and the team that you've built, 6 figures, still being a mom and still putting play into this
Mhm.
whole thing. What's the secret behind this longevity and success?
Really just taking it one day at a time. Understanding that everything is not a race. I think that is such a big misconception sometimes in the corporate world, in that corporate sector. Everything is a kind of a rat race, if you will. Oftentimes, we have to step back, look at more of the aerial perspective, and then kind of dedicate that time to taking one step at a time toward a common goal.
Absolutely. But as we all know, games apparently, parents grew up telling us, play games and
Except for chess.
yeah.
Chess is still legit.
But you've used gamification in your business strategies and things of that nature. First of all, what's been the response like to would-be clients, when you bring up that subject or they come across that sort of subject? Do they take you seriously?
Many people do. I'm actually in a place in our career now where people come to us. They want to play with us. And I think that's really cool because, again, in the early parts of our career, we're hungry, right? We're looking for it. We're willing to take anything or anyone just so we can get across that finish line. And I think with age and with wisdom comes the discernment to choose who we want to play with. And so I'm so proud to say that we're in a place now where people are seeking us because they want to have that journey with us. They want to play.
Absolutely. Could you maybe give us a bit of examples so that people can actually see, hey, this is actually what gamification is about. It's not necessarily playing with a joystick or what did we used to do back in the time when the Nintendo doesn't work?
Atari.
Yeah.
We're looking at that NES. We're blowing into the cartridge to make sure it works right, which is actually a myth, by the way, just so everybody knows. So,
It seems to work though. Have you not tried?
right. Yeah, I kind of swear by it. So, yeah, when I Googled that, I was like, no way, that's not right. Show me the research. But yeah, so we do a lot of different things in our process to kind of help clients get to that level of gamification with their business. Many of them come to us and say, hey, Danielle, I've only played Uno in my life. I played chess twice, 2 times in my life. I don't know anything about that part, but how can I use this element of play to level up my brand or business? And so we use levels of gamification in the areas of brand strategy. We do some like whiteboard sessions and we kind of create this gameplay kind of structure. Again, where they're not playing necessarily a video game or it's nothing like that. It's just more so of, can you tell us the top three concepts around your business, the top three characteristics around your brand? If they can answer pretty fast, then they get more points. If they take a little longer to answer, they get less points. Again, a way to kind of get to the end of the strategy session is to let them have as many points as possible or rack up the scorecard, if you will. And other areas that we like to play is in areas of development. Our team is gamified. So we like being able to see if copy is going to come out with 5 stars or if back in development is actually going to get across the scoreboard and achieve the level that we need it to be at for the development of the brand. So there's different ways that we love to interact with our people. Some of our clients get gaming t-shirts. We love to be able to give swag away to let them know that we're thinking of them, to let them know that the game doesn't end just because the service ends. So there's also ways that we love to plug in opportunities and gameplay in that way.
Absolutely, because the more you're talking about it, even getting reviews is a game. You know what I mean? Because you're measured against a scale of 1 to 5.
That's right.
Yeah, and client satisfaction or whatever surveys is somewhat of a game because you're measuring that against something else. And now that sort of explains because some people would just hear the word gamify and all they think of is Sonic the Hedgehog turning into some big faster thing on there, or Mario Kart going and Donkey
Right.
Kong.
Yeah, don't get hit with the blue shell. That's not your friend.
That's not your friend. Oh, what's that? Pac-Man, going around and eating all the crystals.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Great stuff. So you went on and even perfected this so much that you wrote a book around that. And I think it's the Playbook, right?
That's right.
Gamified Small Business Journal. What can we benefit from this journal?
Absolutely. So it's kind of a broken down way of taking a practical hero's journey, if you will, going into different realms to help develop and think about areas of your brand. The cold way or the cold approach to go about this is think about your competitors, do the market research. And yes, that is possible for you to do, but sometimes it's easier to make it into a game so that it's easier to retain and think of new ideas. So this book really is a breakdown from everything from concept to finish and wrap up, or even follow up with the additional ideas that you may have about your brand.
Absolutely. And I notice you've even gamified your life again because you're in the 2% of, like you said, Black women in the C-suite. Is that the right percentage, right?
Correct. Yes.
Right. And obviously this presents a challenge. I mean, the other 98% are not what you are. What sort of challenges have you faced that you've obviously overcome in this, and at what level in this game are you at now?
I feel like at this point, it is a very male dominated industry. And it has always been. Not to say that it will forever will be, but it has predominantly been a male driven industry. So breaking into those areas to create safe spaces for women who also are coming up from behind or wanting to climb those ranks as well. I love being that example, that kind of North Star for them. And I also love the idea also of, again, just being able to sit at tables that less than 50 years ago, we weren't able to be in any way, shape, or form. So being able to extend the table, show up at the table, and show up for women, that was really essential and crucial for me. So I just kind of felt this calling or charge to really kind of set that tone for myself as I continue to trailblaze in this area.
Absolutely, and that you've done well, and congratulations. I think it's this year that you've been recognized as one of the women to watch, and one of the digital women to watch.
Yes.
Fantastic. Now, do you think this recognition is a bit of a level up to your, what the work that you're doing already?
Absolutely. So within America, I feel like it's also kind of constraining sometimes, as we see more women of color kind of going up further up into the C-suite and further up into more corporate leadership areas. But this is more of an international recognition, as this is in Birmingham, UK. So I love the fact that I'm being recognized in multiple different areas around the world as a woman to watch.
Absolutely. I mean, you're raising the flag so high for Kentucky. I mean, Kentucky's only known for Kentucky Fried Chicken or maybe the Kentucky Derby, but now there's also the Kentucky creatives that you are working with. Tell us a little bit about this community building that you're doing and the impact that it's doing to the world.
Absolutely. So this, again, as you mentioned, Kentucky's really known for its chicken, its derby, and its bourbon,
Oh,
and occasionally
thanks.
basketball.
I
Our
forgot the
basketball's
bourbon.
pretty good. So those are the kind of things that we like to be known for. So Kentucky Creatives is a digital creation community. It's a membership community specifically for digital creators in Kentucky. So for brands and small businesses who are locally, they can't afford the corporate overhead of having a digital content creator come and create some spectacular work for them. We work on a much smaller scale and a more intimate scale to connect brands with influencers and digital creators in Kentucky. So it's really cool, unique network. We just held our first formal workshop where we kind of helped digital creators better understand kind of the repertoire in and around being an influencer, some of the standards and protocols that we have in place so that they can continue to have individual connections with small businesses and brands in the state.
Absolutely. And obviously, kudos to you for that sort of work and all the recognition that has come along, with all of that, because I believe I saw it on one of your work that you've got this statement that life is more like Tetris and less than Mario, because I believe in Tetris, the game. I don't know if this is what you mean, but in Tetris, if you actually blend in, you disappear. Is that the actual thing that you refer to in this instance?
Very, very close. So life is more like Tetris and less like Mario. And really, you kind of nailed it on the head. As you go about Mario, you're zooming to get to the level, right? You're zooming to get to the end, to get to the princess that needs saving. Life isn't about saving the princess all the time. Princesses don't need to be saved by Mario. She can save herself. So there's that. The other part is Tetris. Tetris is all about layering those levels in a certain way so that you are able to level up in life, not about necessarily rushing through the level just to get to the end game. So I really love the comparison of the two, putting the right blocks in the right place to make the foundation that you need to level up.
Absolutely. I quite like that. Now, putting all of this together, I mean, obviously, there's probably a business owner who's always done things a certain way, and they're thinking, I've always been told games are, for kids or gamers and things of that nature. Now, how do you actually ensure that when somebody comes to you, their branding and visual strategies remain authentic to who they are and they don't end up becoming some sort of vintage game, look-alike that they
Mhm.
will not recognize when they walk away from you?
Absolutely. So the back end is where our gameplay lies. On the front end, it's always going to be that reflection of who the brand is and what their desires are to do with their brand. But the way that we get those results is by playing levels of gamification where we can pull apart the information that we need in a fun and in safe environment, and also be able to provide those visual strategy results, whether it's on the front end or the back end or on apparel or t-shirts or shoes.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, people would be also, questioning, has this actually worked on humans? I mean, obviously, you've got a successful business and everything else, but, is there maybe a case history that you can just maybe walk us through of somebody who went through, this gamification branding that you provide and literally their business changed for the better?
Yeah, I can mention one specifically. So we love working with nonprofits. Nonprofits has always been a bread and butter for us. We had a particular client that is a Kentucky-based nonprofit that works with children and families affected by congenital heart disease, which is the number one birth defect in America. So how do you turn these type of supersonic, odds, right? These impossible odds for children and families. How do you turn that into something heroic? How do you turn that into something positive? Well, we were able to put a little spin on it by creating a fundraiser event called the Wild Hearts Fun Run Superhero 5K 10K, where we were able to fundraise funds specifically that builds up the social economic structure for these kids and these families that are having to spend a lot of their time in the hospitals and the emergency rooms for heart evasive surgeries. And being able to turn that into a superhero themed event where we could actually give them encouragement and inspiration through cosplayers, through just having a cool, fun run, and then also having an additional 10K that matched along with it. So, how do we go from this idea of doing something and actually creating it into a physical, tangible event? We asked several questions. We started getting to the bottom of what really made CHD kids in Kentucky superheroes. And that really kind of helped outline the rest of the programming, everything from medals to t-shirts to, again, our cosplayers that are in themed areas that support these families and the children to be their best selves, to feel supported, especially in times where it's not as comfortable for the day-to-day living with congenital heart disease.
Absolutely, and good work there. I mean, obviously, if you can make somebody else's life better, even if it's for a minute or a day, you literally
Exactly.
doing, work that leaders should be actually doing. So, in my eyes, you're literally, changing the world in your own gamified way. So, thank you so
Mhm.
much for that. Now, what would be the best way that people can get started playing with you guys?
Absolutely. I love being able to shoot people to our website. That's at my personal website, DanielleMeadows-Stinnett.com. We also have our business website, lexoctane.com. And we love the gram. We live on the gram at Octane Designs with an S.
Absolutely. I'll definitely put those links in the show notes, and we will obviously direct people to that, to those, properties that you have. Now, when we started, Danielle, you mentioned that, when you were 21 years old, you really wanted to be, is it Karen Case from NPC that, that would have been the person that you sort of and looked up to and wished you
Yes,
could be
Katie
her because
Couric. Uh-huh.
yes, because of her storytelling and things of that nature. But then you grew up into the mom you became, and first of all started off living in that one bedroom apartment. If you would go back to visit these two girls, the 21-year-old that was watching TV and the mom of one in this one bedroom apartment, knowing what you know about life now, what sort of message would you leave them both?
Um, One would be to keep going. I think there was several times where I felt like I needed to pause and listen to the structures of society telling me to put my dreams aside and work a corporate job. There are so many times where people have told me you can't do that because no one else has really done that yet. Wait your turn. There has been plenty of those moments, both at 21 and even now as a younger mom. I was trying to figure out, what those next steps were, and it really the answer was slow down and keep going. So keep going is really the sentiment that I would leave behind to anyone in those similar places.
Absolutely. Well, now you've gotten, the hearts and minds of the people that are watching this show right now, and they're ready to level up with you. What's next? What can people anticipate from Danielle or from Octane, in your own realm?
I'm going to be producing some more books. I love being able to write. I love being able to produce. So you may see some video segments from me, some more podcasting from me. We do a little bit of everything in these realms. So I like being able to, again, be behind the scenes and kind of be the brain behind it.
Absolutely. But Danielle, do you understand you just committed the ultimate scene on the online prosperity show right now?
Yes.
Well, you did not tell us you're going to be producing more books and not pledge to come back and showcase those books on the show again. So
Okay. Deal.
fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey and insights with us today. I mean, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, just getting to understand a whole different world a whole different realm that you play in. Even though it's still the same, but you've taken it into, personalized it and made it your own. I mean, what are the odds of you being a gamer, a retro game enthusiast that has infused all of that into the kind of work that you do and how you play and show up in the world. So thank you so much for choosing that, because now at least we've got something to talk about on the Online Prosperity Show.
Thank you. This has been a joy.
Absolutely. And for those that are watching right now, if you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to level up and click those links that are in the show notes below. You can tell even my language has changed, it's all gone gamified, so hit the subscribe button, and make sure you never miss out on insightful content, that could literally change the course of your life or the way you do business. Until next time, keep thriving and stay prosperous. Bye for now.